Introduction. Hello everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to talk about a concept that acts as a superpower in our modern world. Think about your average day. How many times does your phone buzz? How often do you check your email, flip through social media, or get interrupted by a quick question? In today's world, our attention is constantly being fractured into tiny pieces. We are going to look closely at the ideas of Cal Newport, a computer science professor and author who studied how this constant distraction is changing the way we work and live. He argues that we are losing a vital skill, the ability to focus intensely without distraction. He calls this missing skill deep work. Over the next 20 minutes, we will explore exactly what deep work is, why it is becoming rare yet incredibly valuable, how it adds deep meaning to our lives, and most importantly, the exact rules you can use to build this superpower in your own daily routine. Whether you are 15, 80, or anywhere in between, these ideas can transform how you spend your time. Part 1. The idea. What is deep work? To understand what deep work is, let's look at the lifestyle of the famous psychiatrist Carl Jung. In 1922, Jung chose a quiet village near Lake Zurich to build a stone retreat called the Bollingen Tower. In this tower, he built a private office. He kept the key with him at all times, and no one was allowed inside without his permission. Jung lived a very disciplined routine at the tower. He would rise at 7 a.m., eat a big breakfast, and then spend 2 hours locked in his private office doing completely undistracted writing. His afternoons were for meditation or long walks. The tower didn't even have electricity. At night, light came from oil lamps and heat from the fireplace. Jung did not build this tower as a vacation house to escape work. He built it to advance his work. He wanted to change the way we understood the human mind, and that required deeper, more careful thought than he could manage in a hectic city lifestyle. Cal Newport defines this exact type of effort as deep work, professional activities performed in a state of distraction-free concentration that push your cognitive capabilities to their limit. These efforts create new value, improve your skill, and are hard to replicate. Deep work is not just for old-fashioned philosophers. Throughout history, influential people have used it. Mark Twain wrote much of the adventures of Tom Sawyer in a shed isolated from his main house. His family had to blow a horn just to get his attention for meals. Woody Allen wrote and directed 44 films in a 44-year period without ever owning a computer. He did all his writing on a manual typewriter. J.K. Rowling completely stayed away from social media while writing her Harry Potter novels. Bill Gates famously conducted Think Weeks twice a year, isolating himself in a lakeside cottage to do nothing but read and think big thoughts. The opposite, shallow work. The way these people lived stands in sharp contrast to the modern worker. Today, network tools like emails, social media, and internet surfing have fragmented our attention. A 2012 McKinsey study found that the average knowledge worker spends more than 60% of their work week engaged in electronic communication and internet searching, with close to 30% of their time dedicated to reading and answering email alone. While workers today feel incredibly busy, they are often substituting deep work with its counterpart, shallow work. Non-cognitively demanding, logistical-style tasks, often performed while distracted. These efforts tend to not create much new value in the world and are easy to replicate. When we spend our days constantly sending emails and checking notifications, we act like human network routers. The scary part is that if you spend enough time in a state of frenetic shallowness, you can permanently damage your brain's capacity to perform deep work. The deep work hypothesis. By combining these facts, Newport introduces the foundational thesis of his book, The Deep Work. Hypothesis: the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare. At exactly the same time, it is becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a consequence, the few who cultivate this skill and then make it the core of their working life will thrive. Why deep work is valuable. Our digital economy is shifting rapidly, creating clear winners and losers. Economists point out three specific groups of people who are thriving in this restructuring. High-skilled workers, those who can work creatively with complex, intelligent machines, like data analysts. Superstars, those who are the absolute best at what they do. Because of remote technology, companies can now hire the top talent globally, meaning local average talent gets left behind. The owners, those with capital to invest in the technologies driving this restructuring. To join the winners of the new economy, you need two core abilities. The ability to quickly master hard things. The ability to produce at an elite level, in terms of both quality and speed. Both of these core abilities depend entirely on your capacity to do deep work. First, deep work helps you learn hard things quickly. Neuroscientists have found that when you focus intensely on a specific skill, you force a specific brain circuit to fire repeatedly in isolation. This triggers cells to wrap a layer of fatty tissue called myelin around the neurons in that circuit. Myelin acts like an insulator, allowing the brain cells to fire faster and cleaner. To be great at something, your brain needs to be well myelinated, which can only happen when you focus intensely without distraction. Second, deep work helps you produce at an elite level. Look at Adam Grant, an incredibly productive business professor. He batches his work into long, uninterrupted stretches, such as packing all his teaching into one semester and focusing completely on research during the next. He leverages a simple formula for productivity. High-quality work produced equals time spent times intensity of focus. When you switch from an uncompleted task A to a new task B, your attention does not immediately follow. A portion of your attention remains stuck thinking about the original task. Researchers call this attention residue. If you constantly glance at your inbox every 10 minutes, you are slathering your brain in attention residue, which severely dampens your performance on your main task. Why is deep work rare? If deep work is so valuable, why don't businesses promote it? Why are open office floor plans and instant messaging tools like Slack or Hall taking over? Newport calls this the metric black hole. It is incredibly difficult to measure the exact bottom-line financial cost of distraction or the exact value of depth. Because businesses cannot easily measure this, they fall victim to the principle of least resistance, which states that in a business setting, without clear feedback on the impact of behaviors to the bottom line, we will tend toward behaviors that are easiest in the moment. Constant connectivity is easy, because it prevents us from having to plan out our days ahead of time. Furthermore, because people do not have clear indicators of what it means to be productive, they fall back on busyness as a proxy for productivity. They assume that doing lots of stuff in a highly visible manner, sending endless emails, attending endless meetings, means they are doing their jobs well. Deep work is meaningful. Deep work does not just make you more successful, it makes you happier. The neurological argument. Science writer Winifred Gallagher discovered after a cancer diagnosis that our brains construct our worldview based entirely on what we pay attention to. If you spend your day focused on the stressful, shallow mess of an email inbox, your mind will view your life as stressful and trivial. Deep work demands that you give your rapt attention to something important, which naturally makes your world feel rich in meaning. The psychological argument. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi discovered through his research that people are actually happiest not when they are relaxing in a hammock, but when their body or mind is stretched to its limits in a voluntary effort to accomplish something difficult and worthwhile. He calls this state flow, and deep work is perfectly suited to trigger it. The philosophical argument. Philosophers Hubert Dreyfus and Sean Dorrance Kelly argue that craftsmanship provides a direct path to meaning. A master blacksmith or woodworker extracts inherent meaning from their materials through high levels of skill. This applies directly to modern knowledge work. You do not need a rare, glamorous job to find meaning. You just need a rare, deep approach to your craft. Part 2. The rules. Now that we know why deep work is essential, how do we actually do it? Newport breaks down the practice of depth into 4 clear rules. Rule number 1. Work deeply. You cannot rely on willpower alone to focus. Willpower is not a character trait. It is like a muscle that gets tired and depleted the more you use it. To save your willpower, you must build strict routines and rituals into your working life. First, you must choose a depth philosophy that fits your life. The monastic philosophy. You attempt to maximize deep work by completely eliminating shallow obligations. Computer scientist Donald Knuth famously has no email address. If you want to reach him, you must send a letter to his physical mailbox, which his assistant filters. The bimodal philosophy. You divide your time into distinct, clearly defined stretches, some dedicated entirely to monastic depth, and the rest left open to everything else. You might spend 4 days being completely unreachable to focus on a project, and then spend the next 3 days handling meetings and messages. The rhythmic philosophy. You transform deep work into a simple, regular habit by doing it at the exact same time every single day. For example, a busy student might commit to working on their thesis from 5:30 a.m. to 7:30 a.m. every single morning, without exception. The journalistic philosophy. You fit deep work into your schedule wherever a free block of time pops up. Journalist Walter Isaacson would simply disappear up to a bedroom for 20 minutes or an hour to hammer away at his book whenever he had spare time during the day. This requires an advanced ability to switch your mind from shallow to deep mode instantly. To make the most of your deep work, you must ritualize your sessions. Your ritual must answer where you'll work and for how long. Find a quiet space, like a library or a closed office, and set a strict time limit. How you'll work once you start. Set rules, such as a total ban on internet use or tracking your output. How you'll support your work. Ensure you have the right materials, coffee, or food ready, so you don't waste energy in the moment. Newport also recommends using grand gestures. By making a radical change to your environment, or a significant investment of money or effort, you signal to your mind that the task is incredibly important. J.K. Rowling checked into a $1,000 a day luxury suite at the Balmoral Hotel just to find the focus needed to finish the final Harry Potter book. Finally, protect your deep work by executing your goals like a business. Focus intensely on a small number of wildly important outcomes and track a lead measure, the exact number of hours you spend in a state of deep work. Keep a visual scoreboard of these hours on your wall to keep yourself motivated. Most importantly, be lazy. At the end of the workday, enforce a strict shutdown ritual. Check your email one last time. Ensure your remaining tasks are captured in a trusted list. Make a rough plan for tomorrow, and say a set phrase like "shutdown complete." This completely releases your mind from work obligations. Because of the Zeigarnik effect, incomplete tasks will dominate your attention and haunt your evening unless you make an explicit plan for how you will tackle them later. Giving your brain total rest in the evening allows your unconscious mind to solve complex problems and replenishes the energy you need to focus intensely the next morning. Rule number 2. Embrace boredom. The ability to concentrate is a skill that must be trained. If you spend every single moment of potential boredom, like waiting in line at a store or sitting in a restaurant, staring at your smartphone, you are rewiring your brain to crave constant novelty. If your brain is addicted to distraction, it will be impossible to focus when it comes time to do deep work. To train your brain, don't take breaks from distraction. Instead, take breaks from focus. Instead of scheduling a digital detox day once a week, flip the script. Schedule a block of time in advance where you are allowed to use the internet and keep your mind completely offline outside of that block, even if you get stuck and need to look something up. If you are in an offline block and feel bored, brace yourself and fight through it. You can also practice productive meditation. Take a period where you are physically occupied but mentally free, like walking, jogging, or driving, and focus your attention entirely on a single, well-defined professional problem. If your mind wanders to an unrelated thought, gently guide it back. Watch out for looping, where your mind repeatedly processes things it already knows, to avoid the harder mental strain of diving deeper. Rule number 3. Quit social media. Many people choose which network tools to use based on the any-benefit mindset. They assume they are justified in using a tool like Facebook or Twitter if they can identify any possible benefit to it, or anything they might possibly miss out on if they don't use it. Skilled laborers, like sustainable farmers, do not select tools this way. A farmer evaluates a heavy piece of machinery based on how it impacts the core baseline of their success. Newport proposes the craftsman approach to tool selection. Identify the core factors that determine success and happiness in your professional and personal life. Adopt a tool only if its positive impacts on these factors substantially outweigh its negative impacts. This approach relies on the law of the vital few, which states that 80% of a given effect is due to just 20% of the possible causes. The top 2 or 3 activities you do determine almost all of your success. Social media tools rarely support that vital 20%. They consume your limited store of time and attention, taking it away from high-impact activities. Newport challenges you to put your social media to a test. Ban yourself from using all social media services for 30 days. Do not deactivate them, and do not announce online that you are leaving. After 30 days, ask yourself if those days would have been notably better if you had used the service, and if anyone actually cared that you were gone. If the answer is no, quit the service permanently. Finally, don't use the internet to entertain yourself. Entertainment websites are engineered by psychologists and algorithms to capture and hold your attention through addictive clickbait. If you default to whatever catches your eye on the web after work, you degrade your mind's ability to resist distraction. Instead, give your brain a quality alternative. Plan your leisure time in advance. Engage in structured hobbies. Read deliberately chosen books. Exercise or enjoy good in-person company. Rule number 4. Drain the shallows. As we established, shallow work is inevitable but dangerous. We must tame its footprint. The software company 37 Signals ran an experiment where they gave their employees the entire month of June off from shallow tasks. No meetings, no memos, no PowerPoint, to work deeply on their own projects. The experiment was a massive success, producing highly valuable tools that pushed the business forward. To drain the shallowness out of your own life, you must schedule every minute of your day. At the beginning of each workday, divide your hours into blocks on a piece of lined paper and assign activities to those blocks. Every minute should have a job. If your schedule gets disrupted because a task takes longer than expected, don't worry. Simply pause, cross out the rest of the day, and draw a revised schedule for the remaining hours. The goal is not to follow a rigid plan at all costs, but to maintain a thoughtful say in what you are doing with your time. To map your tasks accurately, quantify the depth of every activity by asking this simple thought experiment. How long would it take, in months, to train a smart recent college graduate with no specialized training in my field to complete this task? If a task requires years of training, it leverages hard-won expertise and is deep. If a bright college graduate can pick it up in a few weeks, it is shallow. Use this metric to evaluate your workload and ask your boss for a shallow work budget. Settle on a clear percentage of your time that should be spent on shallow tasks, like 30% or 40%. And use that corporate backing to say no to unnecessary administrative clutter. Finally, commit to fixed schedule productivity. Set a firm limit on your workday, such as finishing your work by 5:30 p.m. every day, and work backward to find the efficiency and organizational strategies required to meet that deadline. This forces your mind into a scarcity mindset. You will become fiercely protective of your time, ruthlessly cutting out the shallow commitments, unnecessary meetings, and emails that do not move the needle. Conclusion. To wrap it all up, let's step back and look at the big picture. Deep work is not a nostalgic, old-fashioned trend for writers of the past. It is a crucial, modern capability, the ultimate superpower for anyone looking to stand out and thrive in a highly competitive, distracted world. Choosing a deep life requires effort, strict routines, and a willingness to step away from the shiny, addictive distractions that everyone else is hyper-connected to. It means trading the short-term comfort of looking busy for the long-term satisfaction of true craftsmanship and elite production. As Cal Newport reminds us, a deep life is not just economically lucrative, it is a life well lived. By building your own personal stone tower of focus amid the noise of the modern world, you can unlock your full potential and achieve true human flourishing. Thank you very much.